Hello. So today we will talk about uh, per diem calculation in the expense management module that was introduced with the Business Central. I think in the yeah, it was in the last release. So let's jump right towards the scenarios one by one. All right. So I've just created 2 3 cases, and we'll just quickly see how we can configure them in BC, right? So to start with, let's take a very simple example. So if you see here the scenario on my left, it says on January 15th. Yeah, year can be taken 2025. I would blame ChatGPT for putting the wrong year on it, but yeah, you get the gist. So I traveled on January 15th at early morning, 1200 in the AM, and then on 17th I completely used consumed the entire day, so it's 2359 over here, right? And it's a 3-day full trip. Now there's one thing which is the scenario. Now the second part of it is the setup. So on the expense agent setup, you can configure the or you should configure the per diem calculation, which basically creates the foundation of this whole calculation. So first things first, you define that what's the basis of your per diem calculation. So I would say full calendar day in this scenario, and daily rate. I'll show you where we configure it, and some basic things like per diem round precision and reduction for breakfast, lunch, dinner. So we will see that. Now, before jumping into the product, let's see what is the expected outcome. So I started my trip on 15th January, which is the day one. So 15th January it was full day. 16th it was a full day, and for 17th as well it was a full day. So for these 3 days I should get a per diem of $300, right? So let's see the scenario, how we do that in BC. So that's my tenant. So first things first, which is the setup. So for now it's on expense agent setup. So on the expense agent setup, you have a tab called allowance. All right. So right below the standard rate for mileage, you will see it says full per diem calculation. So it's full calendar day, and I think for the full calendar day scenario, that should be pretty much it. We don't really have to change anything. Now on my expense category, if I go here, there is an expense category for per diem, right? And you have to go to the rules for it. Okay, so I'll see expense rules. There you go. So let's take the example for domestic. Let's keep it very simple for now. So I say per diem, and for this expense location, and on my per diem I have to make sure that the expense detail required is defined as per diem. That basically is the identifier. Now in my previous video I've explained the other things, like what is the default payment method, blah blah blah. We don't really have to discuss that. If you want to understand how it works there, go and see the volume 1 of this video series. Now on the rule conditions, the type of the condition type is basically going to be daily rate. There's one thing I think probably should be fixed, that for other condition type as well, for per diem I'll be able to select the condition type here, which I don't think is relevant, but for now let's keep it simple. So I say daily rate is 100. So what does it mean? So I'm defining a rule that for expense category per diem, and if the location is domestic and with an effective date, the daily rate will be $100. So by dollar, I mean the LCY for this country is the USD. So if you define any other currency here, it's going to take that currency. All right, so let's try to run a scenario. So I will try to create an expense. I'm not going to do it from the web app. You can always do that, but I don't have enough tokens on me left, so I will use the expense management now. So let's keep it simple. I create an expense number, employee. So I choose here per diem, and then as soon as I do that, I can see here it says there are some rule violation. It says per diem details are required for this expense based on your organization rule. So that's okay. If I go here on my expense, I can see there is a button which is enabled for per diem, right? So far so good. Now if I go here, I still don't see the per diem. Why? Because the expense location is missing, because the per diem is one thing that may vary based on the type of location where you would like to travel. So for me, if I talk about us, there's an X amount we get for per diem if I travel within India, but you get a different set of per diem if I travel abroad, right? So something like that. So let's take the location. So that's going to be your expense location. In this case, we checked it with domestic. And then the case comes for the dates. So I mentioned that I traveled on January 15th, which was 12 a.m. and I came back on 17th of January, which is 11:59, and that's PM, right? So now you can see here it says the amount as 300, right? So it has auto calculated it, and if I go and click here and say view applied rule, I will see that it has taken this rule. Yeah, so far so good. And if I go to per diem, I'll see the same thing. So it says for 15th it was 100, and for 16th it was 100, and for 17 it is 100. Yeah, so that's a pretty neat scenario. So if I release and create expense report, yeah, I'll go with a new one. Yeah, so I get this expense report line here, and if I go here, I still see the per diem in the same way. Let's see, if I try to create, I can always do it with expense report line itself. So let's take another example. So for I don't know, if I take Germany and I choose the same dates. Alright, so I do F8. Alright, so if I see here first applied rule, so it says 105 and that's euro. So let's keep it 100 euros for example. Yeah, and let's try to change the dates. I will, because we still have to modify something in order to see if that is making any impact. Okay, so let's see what happens here. If I go here, I say per diem. Oh, I said 19. Oh, sorry, my bad. Should be 17th. Thought I discovered a bug. Okay, so now I can see it says 100, and that's euro. So euro of this, and you can see here it says 300, and the LCY converts and it goes to 298. Now you can see, interesting scenario, that on this document I have an expense report with first line as blank and second as euro. So that's a multi-currency scenario. But for now, I don't want to mix things up. So let's keep it simple. So that's scenario number one. Now let's go back to our deck, right? Okay, rolling period time travel example. So the scenario is that I traveled on 17th, which was 6 a.m. in the morning, and then I came back on sorry, I traveled on 15th, which was 6 a.m. in the morning, and then I came back on 17th, which was 7 p.m. Okay, evening, night, whatever it is. So it's a 61 hours of total, you know, of travel. Now, what I would like to see is that if I see here, it says that there is a rolling period time. So first 24 hours, it should be $100, which was from 15th to 16th, 559. So that becomes 24 hours in total. Now from this 16th to 17th, which was again the whole journey for the another 24 hours, I should get the $100. Now, where it becomes interesting is that for the remaining trip, it is 13 hours, because from 6 a.m. in the morning of 17th, I only been traveling till 7 in the night. Okay, so that's 13 hours, and it's not 24 hours. So I get only $60 for this last day. How? So let's take a look at that. So on the setup tab, I define the full per diem calculation as 24-hour rolling period. So now it's not going to be this. And the partial day rule is based on eligible hours, right? Because I haven't spent the whole 24 hours. I spent some of the time there, right? So it again depends on your organization policy. If you say you follow the 24-hour rolling period concept, then that's where you are going to go. So the third thing is that you say percentage for partial day. So you only get 60% of it. Okay, for 100 you only get the 60% of it, and minimum hours for per diem should be 20, which is not this case because it has only 13 hours. And if I see the next thing which says minimum hours for partial per diem, so that's 8. So I've been for the 17th it was 13 hours, which is greater than 8. So now it qualifies for the partial per diem. Now for the partial per diem, I will get the 60% of it, which is basically $60. So that's the calculation on the third tab. So for the first rolling period was January 15th, 6 a.m. to January 16th, 5:59, which is 24 hours. So you get $100. So the second rolling period was 16th January 6 a.m. to 17th 5:59 a.m. So that makes sense. You get $100 still, 24 hours. Now for the remaining period, it is only 13 hours, which is the bullet 3. Now here is you have applied the rule. So you have a minimum hour for partial per diem, which is 8. So 8 is less than 13, so that's applicable. But for the full per diem, it should be more minimum 20 hours. So I spent 13 hours, so I get the partial per diem. So 60% of 100 becomes 60. So that's why you get 100, and then 60. So that's the $260 window. Yeah. So let's take a look how we configure that. So again, for it depends on the policy of your organization. So now if I go to expense agent setup, I have to make sure that it is configured that way. The same thing, I go there, general. So now I select 24-hour rolling period. Yeah. And then I say partial day rules based on eligible hours. I don't see any problem here. Then I say percentage of per diem. So sorry, minimum hours for per diem. So that's going to be 20. And minimum hours for partial per diem, that's 8 already, so I don't see any challenge there. And the percentage of partial day will be 60. So I think we are set. So let's try to create a new expense, right? Expense, and I go new per diem. take domestic. So January 15th to 17th, and the time was 6 a.m. in the morning, and then I came back at 7 in the night. Okay, so it stays 260, right? And if I go here again, I see it has followed the same expense rules. If I go to per diem, there you go. So for 15th and 16th, I get the full per diem, but for the last day, I only get the 60% of it. And one more thing, and I take the next example for that. It's non-editable. It's auto-populated. So for per diem, there is no window for user to making any addition or deletion. There is a way of modifying these three flags. I'll show it in the next scenario. But apart from that, you won't be able to change anything here. That's I think it's good, right? Because if it's configured that way, it has to be that way. Per diem is something which is kind of defined by the organization. You just cannot willy-nilly change it every time. Yeah. All right. So let's take the third scenario, which I think is the last one. It should be easy. Okay. So I traveled from 15th and I came back on 17th. Kind of the whole day thingy. Okay. But the thing is that I have been allotted some per diem, and which kind of includes my breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Yeah, but for an expense, I tried to took breakfast there as well, and I would like to have some dinner for that as well. But my organization policy says if I have a allotted time and I am also trying to claim the per diem with this breakfast, lunch, and dinner, then it will be deducted from my per diem, right? So it says if there is a breakfast applied on that per diem, then on that expense, then it will be a 10% reduction. Or lunch, then it will be a 15% reduction, or it will be 20% for dinner. Yeah. So for day one, the scenario was that on the scenario tab, uh, I took breakfast plus lunch, and on day two, I just went on for the whole thing, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and then on the third day, I took dinner. So the calculation basically is pretty straightforward if you ask me. So for $100 per day, 10%, and then minus the 15%, so that becomes 75. Same thing for lunch. So 10%, 15%, and 20%, it kind of becomes that much number of 100. And then it comes for dinner where it says 20. I think there is a slight, I don't know if it's a bug, if it is by design, but I have a feeling that it, instead of calculating it by 100, 10% of 100, then 15% of 100, then 20% of 100, what it should do is that it should calculate I think 75%, 5 to, no, sorry, not 75%. Yeah, it should be 45% for, yeah, total 45% of the 100. Yeah, let's try to run the scenario and let's see where it goes. So I go here, expense, agent setup, full calendar. Okay, we don't change anything else. Let's keep it that way. And I go here, expense agent. Oh, sorry, I already fixed expense agent. Okay, so per diem, And then location, domestic. I forgot to check the percentage of meal reduction. Just give me a second. Okay, so breakfast was how much? Mm-mm-mm. Okay, so breakfast was 10, lunch was 15, and dinner was 20. Okay, we are set. I do this domestic, and I travel on January 15th, and then I came back on 17th. Let's make it 11:59 p.m. Okay, so I get the whole per diem, but now on the first day I took breakfast and lunch. Okay, so it's 76.50. Yeah, I took some rounding on it. And on the second day I took the whole thing. So that's that. Then on the third day I only went for dinner. I'm not sure, it's kind of losing some precision, but overall I what I can see is that it's reducing the amount for those days. So functionality wise you can get the context how it is actually working. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. That's what I wanted to discuss. Feel free to drop off if you have any questions. I will be submitting some more videos about itemization and participants on it, and the big one for multi-currency. But all in all, yeah, that's how the per diem overall. That's how it works. All right. Thank you and have a nice day.